That's it for the business news. Lucy's here with your top stories in a few minutes' time. Stay with us here on BBC News.
Hello, live from London, this is BBC News. As Spain celebrates, England's Lionesses are heading home. The Women's World Cup finalists are flying from Sydney after their defeat to Spain. Lucy Letby, the neonatal nurse who was found guilty of murdering 7 babies, is to be sentenced at Manchester Crown Court later today. And torrential rain batters Southern California after the arrival of tropical storm Hilary. Authorities declare a state of emergency. Hello, I'm Lucy Gray. Welcome to the programme. Spain is celebrating the World Cup victory of its women's football team after they beat England in the final on Sunday. It's the first time that Spain have won the tournament. The Spanish team were in high spirits as they returned to their hotel. Their win, which was well-deserved on the night, came despite tensions. Several top Spanish footballers actually refused to play in the tournament because of a dispute with the coach. And these are the latest pictures from the airport in Sydney of the departing England team. Disappointed, of course, after that narrow 1-0 defeat. The final was watched by millions of people around the world, with the tournament hailed as another step forward for the women's game. Let's speak now to Sergi Forcada-Freixas, who's in Madrid, and Shaima Khalil, who's in Sydney for us. Sergi, to you first. How have the celebrations been going? Okay, thanks very much for telling us what we can about it. Will Vernon there for us in Moscow. Let's just return quickly to our top story now, the news that England's Lionesses are leaving Sydney. They've got on a flight, I think, already from Sydney Airport in Australia, fresh from their defeat in the Women's World Cup final, of course, to Spain. They lost 1-0, of course. They've just been getting on a plane. They should be flying back to the UK now. A lot of people saying how proud they are at their performance, and of course a lot of celebrations have been going on in Spain over their victory, and congratulations to them. Do stay with us here on BBC News.
Now on BBC News, the latest business news from across the globe. World Business Report.
Live from London, this is BBC News. China cuts the cost of borrowing again in an attempt to boost its flagging economy. As President Biden arrives in Hawaii to see the destruction wrought by wildfires, we'll hear about the cost of rebuilding. And results are coming in from elections in Guatemala and Ecuador. We look at the economic challenges facing the winners. Hello there, I'm Tadhg Enright with your top business stories. Well, we're going to start in China, where the authorities are trying to support its struggling economy. The central bank has cut one of its core lending rates, its so-called one-year loan prime rate, to a fresh record low of 3.45%. But it's decided to leave its 5-year rate unchanged at 4.2%. Sherry Meller-McNamara there from the Hawaii Chamber of Commerce. Well, let's have a look at some of the day's other news now. And the retailer Tesco says it will cover the sales tax on its own branded period underwear products to make them more affordable for customers. That reduces the price by 20% and brings the period pants in line with other period products which are tax exempt. Tesco has joined a campaign calling on the British government to reclassify period pants so that they're exempt from sales tax. And a heavy cargo ship is setting sail later in a world first for tackling climate change. It's been converted to run on wind power using gigantic wings that its owners believe will slash carbon emissions by 30%. Cargill's Pyxis bulk carrier will make history as it embarks on its maiden voyage from China to Brazil, ushering in, the company says, a new age of sail for marine transport. And we'll be speaking to the president of Cargill Ocean's transportation business in World Business Report. That's in 4 hours from now, right here on BBC News. Don't miss that, 10:30 GMT. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. You're live with BBC News. Well, presidential election results are coming in from Guatemala and Ecuador. In Guatemala, the anti-corruption crusader Bernardo Arevalo has been chosen as its next president. In Ecuador, voters were taking part in the first round of its presidential election. The winners in both countries will face similar economic challenges after the pandemic. Well, Dr. Christopher Sabatini is a senior fellow for Latin America at Chatham House, and earlier I asked him about those challenges awaiting, firstly, the anti-corruption crusader Bernardo Arevalo, who will be the next president of Guatemala. Okay, Steve Olton, thank you very much. I'm sure you'll be hoping that the next Women's World Cup will be held in a time zone a little bit more friendly to watching the game, having a pint and perhaps a bit to eat as well. Thanks very much for that. Do stay with us here on BBC News. Lucy will be back with your top stories in a few minutes' time. Thanks very much for being with us.
The day's most important stories sent every weekday morning direct to your inbox. Subscribe at bbc.com/newsdaily.
Hello, live from London, this is BBC News. Spain celebrates Sunday's victory in the Women's World Cup final as England's Lionesses fly home from Sydney Airport after their defeat. Lucy Letby, the neonatal nurse who was found guilty of murdering 7 babies, is to be sentenced at Manchester Crown Court later today. And torrential rain batters Southern California after the arrival of tropical storm Hilary. Authorities declare a state of an emergency. Hello, welcome to the programme. I'm Lucy Gray. Spain is celebrating the World Cup victory of its women's football team after they beat England in the final on Sunday. It's the first time that Spain have won the competition. The Spanish team were in high spirits as they returned to their hotel. Their win, which was well deserved on the night, of course, came despite tensions. Several top Spanish footballers actually refused to play in the tournament because of a dispute with the coach. And these are the latest pictures from the airport in Sydney of the departing England team, disappointed after that narrow 1-0 defeat. The final was watched by millions of people around the world, with the tournament hailed as another step forward for the women's game. I've been speaking to the BBC's Sergi Forcada-Freixas in Madrid and Shaima Khalil in Sydney about all the reaction to the game and that result. Let's take a look at some other stories making the news now. President Biden is travelling to Hawaii later to inspect the response to the deadly wildfires on the island of Maui. He's being criticised by his political opponents, who've said he's been slow to see the devastation that's killed at least 114 people. Many more are still missing around the coastal town of Lahaina. Donald Trump has confirmed that he will not take part in Wednesday's Republican presidential primary debate in Milwaukee or in any other debate scheduled so far. He made the announcement on his social media platform Truth Social. Mr. Trump has repeatedly indicated that he sees no advantage in participating in traditional debates. A cargo ship fitted with giant rigid sails the size of aircraft wings has embarked on its maiden voyage from China to Brazil. It's hoped that the British-designed technology, which uses the wind to help propel the vessel, will reduce carbon emissions by up to 30%. You're live with BBC News. Now, more than half of the ballots have been counted in Ecuador's presidential election, and left-wing candidate Luisa González has won the first round. Luisa González won just over 33% of the vote and goes through to the second round in pole position. She'll face businessman Daniel Noboa Azin in the second round in October. Security has taken centre stage throughout the election campaign after the murder of anti-corruption candidate Fernando Villavicencio, who was gunned down while leaving a campaign event this month. Don't forget, there's plenty more on all the stories that we're covering on the BBC News website, and do stay with us here on BBC News, because now it is time for Talking Business. Thanks very much for your company. Bye for now. Hello, live from London, this is BBC News. Torrential rain batters southern California following the arrival of tropical storm Hilary. Authorities declare a state of emergency. Lucy Letby, the neonatal nurse who was found guilty of murdering 7 babies, is to be sentenced at Manchester Crown Court later today. Spain celebrates Sunday's victory in the Women's World Cup final, while England's Lionesses fly home from Sydney Airport after their defeat. Hello, I'm Lucy Gray. Welcome to the programme. To the United States now, where a state of emergency has been declared in Southern California as tropical storm Hilary bears down, bringing torrential rain. 9 million people are under flash flood warnings. It's extremely rare for California to experience a tropical storm inland. And this is water streaming down streets in Palm Springs, a city in the desert east of Los Angeles that usually looks much drier than this. And some schools will be closed on Monday so that they can be checked for damage. I can also show you now Las Vegas. The rains there have triggered severe flooding and hundreds of flights have been cancelled at airports in the city. And just take a look at these pictures from Death Valley. It's known for its extreme temperatures, but now the desert environment has been inundated with water. Paul Adams reporting. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. Up to 30%. You're live with BBC News with me, Lucy Gray. Now, Spain is celebrating the World Cup victory of its women's football team after they beat England in the final on Sunday. It's the first time that Spain have won the tournament, and the Spanish team were in high spirits as they returned to their hotel. Several top Spanish footballers actually refused to play in the tournament because of a dispute with the coach. And these are the latest pictures that we have from the airport in Sydney of the departing England team. Looking a bit disappointed, of course, after that narrow 1-0 defeat. Well, I've been speaking to the BBC's Sergi Forcada-Freixas in Madrid and Shaima Khalil in Sydney about all of the reaction to the game and to the tournament in general. Just a reminder of our top story this hour. Torrential rain is battering Southern California following the arrival of tropical storm Hilary. The authorities have declared a state of emergency and millions of people are under flash flood warnings. It's extremely rare for California to experience a tropical storm inland. And these are pictures of water streaming down streets in Palm Springs, which is a city in the desert east of Los Angeles that usually looks much drier than that, of course. And some schools are going to be closed on Monday so that they can be checked for damage. And just a reminder, of course, that there is a live page on the BBC website on this. You can see it there on your screen. If you scroll down to it, you can see all sorts of updates coming throughout the day. We're updating that as and when we get information about what's happening there. I think 26 million people are under flood warnings. That's all from me for this half hour. Do stay with us here on BBC News. Bye. This is BBC News, the headlines. Tropical storm Hilary is barreling through Southern California, where 26 million people are under flood warnings. The authorities have declared a state of emergency. Lucy Letby, the neonatal nurse who was found guilty of murdering 7 babies, has arrived at Manchester Crown Court for sentencing. And failure for Russia's first lunar mission in nearly 50 years after its unmanned spacecraft crashed into the moon. Let's return to the United States now, as a state of emergency has been declared in Southern California as Tropical Storm Hilary bears down, bringing torrential rain. Millions of people are under flash flood warnings. It's extremely rare for California to experience a tropical storm inland. Jamie Rome is Deputy Director of the US National Hurricane Center. He says the areas being hit aren't used to this sort of storm. Well, Vernon for us there in Moscow. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. You're live with BBC News with me, Lucy Gray. Let's return now to the Football World Cup, with Spain celebrating their victory over England in the final on Sunday. It is the first time that Spain have won the tournament. Let's speak now to somebody in Barcelona, Gemma Soler, who is a sports journalist there. Hello to you, Gemma. Oh, I think we might have a bit of trouble on the line to Barcelona. I have seen her, so I know she's there, but I don't think she can hear me just yet. So I have one more go. Hello to you, Gemma.
Hi there. Yeah, hello.
Hello, good to have you with us. Thanks very much for joining us. I suppose you're very happy, as are a lot of people in Spain right now. What's been the reaction over there to your team? Caroline,
so that's again another element of controlling the room.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm going to have to leave it there because we're right out of time, but appreciate you joining us. Caroline Cheetham joining us there from Manchester Crown Court, and we will of course have plenty more throughout the day here on BBC News from Manchester Crown Court as that sentencing takes place. Do stay with us.